out on Facebook, watching us on our Facebook Live feed. Welcome to the regular meeting of the, wait, what day is it? February 21st, regular meeting of the North Augusta Planning Commission. Thank you all for attending. We will start with the roll call from my left, please.
Aaron Slade.
Rhett Harbison. Jesse Elliott.
Lisa Christie.
Chelsea Waddell. Whoops, sorry.
Thank
Chelsea
you. And
Waddell.
I'm Bob Bigger. I'm the vice chair filling in for Dr. Crawford, who is out of town tonight. All right. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes from our January 17th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Are there any comments or updates to those very brief minutes? I have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Harbison.
Second.
A second by Mr. Chairman Elliott. Thank you very much. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Director Paradise, confirmation of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes or updates to the existing agenda as presented?
No, sir, but what, if I may, on the dais, you each have an email. I received that email this afternoon, and it was directed toward the Planning Commission. It was not about any particular application, but I wanted to make sure that y'all received a copy of it. And I've got it on the record, Mr. Chairman, that I gave y'all a copy of it.
Confirming for the minutes that, right, we did receive the email as noted and will be added to the record. Thank you. Which brings us to the first item on our agenda tonight, application PP 23-004, the Aladade Section 1A. This is a major subdivision preliminary plat request by NAHH LLC for approval of a 219.5 acre multi-phase residential development on the Aladade planned development located off Belvedere Clearwater and Old Sudlow Lake Road, tax parcel number 022-17-01-001. Consideration for the major subdivision preliminary plat application and waiver requests as requested. Director Paradise, want to walk us through the highlights of this, please?
Yes, sir, and if y'all will bear with me again, this is going to take a few minutes.
And sorry, before you get started, just for the public that's here tonight, the way we will proceed through these agenda items, we will start with a review as provided by our director, have discussions here on the dais amongst the planning commissioners. We will ask the representative for the project to step up to the microphone, introduce themselves with their name and address for record, add any additional comments of their own. We will then open it up for public comment at that time and ask that if you do have public comment to keep it to a reasonable amount of time and not repeat anything that anybody else has said previously, and then we will have final discussions after that.
The subject property is in dark blue there. It would be to the top of the screen from Old Sudlow Lake, or it'd be a portion of that parcel. They give you kind of a where you are at, where it says Fountain Head, I think it is. That would be where the Highland Springs Middle School is. The proposal is a development of the first 219.5 acres. It's Phase 1A, a part of the Aladade Plan development. This was previously known as Highland Springs, and before that, it was known as the Blanchard Tract. The total tract is 1,368 acres, so this is just the first phase of that. And the general development plan was approved by council on August 1st, 2022. So it has been in the works for a while now. This application is for the preliminary plat approval for a total of 554 homes. 230 of them will be single-family detached lots, and 324 will be townhomes or single-family attached lots located in Tract C and D of the general development plan. Tract C will have a density of 2.04 dwelling units per acre, and 15 dwelling units per acre is allowed, so it meets the density requirements. Tract D will have a density of 5.24 dwelling units per acre, and 8 dwelling units per acre is allowed, so it also meets the dwelling unit count. Access, as you can imagine, traffic is a big concern. Access to this phase will be about 2 access points. Buchanan Parkway at Belvedere Clearwater Road, and Himalaya Crossing and Old Sudlow Lake Road. Himalaya Crossing will be a new road that's in this development. The Aladade 1A traffic study conducted by Kimberly Horn recommends the following improvements. One is a full movement traffic signal should be designed and installed upon completion of Section 1 at Belvedere Clearwater Road and Buchanan Parkway. Staff has reviewed that and the number of houses and the traffic counts generated by each half, and staff would recommend requiring this as a conditional of final plat approval for Phase 4B, 5A, and 5B of Section 1A. This would be after about 400 lots have been developed. Construct a 250-foot southbound right turn lane with taper at Belvedere Clearwater and Old Sudlow Lake Road. This should be installed with Track 2. Create a southbound lane into Himalaya Crossing site access from Old Sudlow Lake. This would be done with Phase 1B. This would be, if you look on the map there, on where Old Sudlow Lake Road, that would be the blue parcel below that. So that's not before you right now. And then construct a northbound right turn lane at the Buchanan Parkway School campus. And we have design drawings on that has been submitted. That's currently under review. The applicant has proposed road names of Apex Trail, Backpacking Bend, Cowboy Camp Circle, Denali Drive, Everest Drive, Fuji Loop, Glacier Court, Himalaya Crossing, Matterhorn Run, Overhang Bend, Sheer Drop Circle, Steep Gorge Court, and Table Rock Run. Aiken County 911 addressing is reserved to names for 1 year. Final approval of the proposed road names is subject to Planning Commission approval with this application. So hopefully y'all will approve that for the applicant. Now we're getting into the waivers. The applicant is requesting a block length waiver. That gives you kind of an overview of what it is. The applicant requests a block length waiver from the required 500 feet for the following street. Apex Trail, which would have a length of 660 feet. Glacier Court, with a road length of 930 feet. Cowboy Circle, with a road length of 1,650 feet. Backpacking Bend, with 1,730 feet. There will be a future extension made to this road, and that will make a connection so that it's not a dead end. Everest Drive, but that will be in a different phase. Everest Drive with a road length of 1,525, and Table Rock / Fuji Loop with a block length of 1,020. Also requested is a waiver from the connectivity ratio. That goes not only for block length, but they're talking about interconnecting with other streets and the ratio of that. And whenever you get the block length and the ratio connection kind of go together. So when you get one that's too long, it also throws off the other. But they're requesting a waiver from the a requirement of 1.4 for pod 1 to have a connectivity ratio of 2, pod 2 to have a connectivity ratio of 2, and pod 3 a connectivity ratio of 3. And they're also requesting a waiver from the horizontal curve radius of 500 feet for the collector road is requested for Himalaya crossing for 3 curves. One would have 400 feet, one would have 300 feet, and one would have 225 feet. And I'll let the applicant show you that and explain that more in detail. That is something that staff has looked long and hard about, talked with the city engineer about, Googled about, and I could not find a reason not to support it. So, but it did, curve radius is one of those things. It's a safety issue, and we did do our homework on it and can support it now. Also is a waiver for the maximum grade of 8% for the collector roads, a request for Himalaya crossing at 9% and at 8.5%. And we would recommend approval of that waiver. We would recommend approval of all of the waivers. Any questions for me? I know that's a lot to unpack.
I do have one question about the block length. I was not here whenever that was kind of put into play. What is the reasoning behind having it a certain length or limited to a certain length?
You, and it typically goes by, okay, if a fire truck or an ambulance goes by and they miss your house, well, they've got to go that much further to turn around and come back. Or a fire truck. Truth be known, if it's an emergency, they're going to stop and
Pull through
probably
somebody's
back
yard.
up.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about it, but as much. The other thing is if it's one way in and one way out, you know, and a tree should fall across the road. Yeah, we've had that occur. That is the reason why you have a block length. That, and when you get into, and the engineer can explain this a whole lot better than I can, but also say you've got a water main and it dead ends at the end, you know, your pressure, your volume, that kind of stuff. But though that is all engineered in, the we have received, let me go back to this one. We have a master sanitary sewer plan that our engineer has looked at and is good with. We've got the master water utility plan that the city engineer has looked at and is good with. And then this is the general development plan. So there's a lot of stuff packed into the slideshow, and I tend to jump over a lot of it. But there's a lot of work that has been going on since it was approved in, what was it, in 22.
Mr. Paradise, do we have any input from emergency services about any of these waivers? The block links and,
When we went, when we get the preliminary plat, we shipped that out to all the departments, including public safety. And public safety didn't come back with any comments or concerns. And along with that, Ms. Waddell, you know, it also goes to public services, which didn't have any concerns. And I say that because garbage trucks have that as well.
Any other questions of Mr. Paradise? Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of this project?
Kurt Fine, Cranston Engineering, representing NAHH LLC, 1432 Heath Street, Augusta, Georgia. As Tommy mentioned, there's a lot of moving parts here. Don't know if you guys want to just run through the waiver request. I think we have some slides that we could present to talk through those. I was referring to the exhibits. Yes. So here shows the layout of what we're calling Section 1A. The highlighted roads here in color are the ones that we're asking for the waivers on. So the connectivity ratios are in the 3 townhome pods. That is pretty simple to explain there. The blue road in the bottom right is asking for a road length waiver. Since it is a loop road, it comes back on itself and exceeds the maximum length of, I believe it's 640 feet. Same thing for the blue road to the left. The dead-end cul-de-sac, I believe, measures to 680 feet, where the maximum is 640. For the road highlighted in red, that is a severe topographic challenge there. That is the one location we were able to work a road from the low end of the site to the high end of the site. And I believe that road exceeds the maximum length as well. And it's measured at 1,525 feet. The road highlighted in green traverses the low side of the site along the wetlands. This road also exceeds the maximum block length or road length of 640 feet and is measured at currently at 1,730 feet. The red and the green roads both will have future extensions to the main road, which is shown in the next exhibit. Overlaying the master plan here. The red road eventually meets up with the green road, which will tie into Buchanan Parkway, the main road through the development, to show you some connectivity and future planning there. I missed a block width on one of the townhome pods. If you could go back. The large townhome pod in the center on the low side of the page, that block width is measured at just over 1,000 feet. We've got some topographic challenges there and traversing between those 2 roads. But we do provide 2 ways in, 2 ways out. You know, for instance, Tommy mentioned a tree falling across the road. You could find your way back through the other entry. Could you jump 2 slides ahead, please? Yeah, so this is the challenge we have with roadway geometry. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the driveway constructed by the Highland Springs Middle School. That provides access off of Old Sudlow and is in place. A very new roadway. When coming off of that existing road alignment, that first curve there is the smallest curve. If we were to continue straight, we would run into the wetlands and drop off some severe terrain, which is why that curve is so tight. Moving down the road, we provide another curve there to cross that easement as perpendicular as possible and to stay above the wetlands. That road is elevated fairly high above the wetlands, and the grade transitioning down toward them touches the buffer, so going any higher with it could prevent or cause us to get in the buffer even further. And when crossing that easement, utility providers will typically require you to cross as perpendicular as possible, especially with a large communication main running on the high side of that power easement. Crossing at an angle with that terrain would cause us to cut into the earth and potentially have to relocate it. So crossing perpendicular over that communication line, as shown, is pretty critical. That last curve is shown at 400 feet. In my opinion, the code is written so that collector roads follow criteria for a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit road. That is not the intent with this roadway. It is a connector road through a neighborhood. We want to hold the speed limit lower than that. We don't think having vehicles traveling at that speed is safe for anybody. So given 400 feet there, I don't see, as an engineer, that being too big of a concern, but it does traverse at that grade, as shown in the next exhibit. But we're willing to provide some form of traffic calming and safety signage. As you can see, we've shown some signage here, some reverse curve signage and advanced turn warning signage. I think that would be necessary. We've provided some other options for the commission and staff to consider. One being the traverse rumble strips as you approach that really tight curve in the school's intersection. There will be that driveway by the school is intended to be a bus route. I believe buses are the main vehicle exiting the property through that driveway. So maybe providing some kind of rumble strip. We've also provided a study by the Federal Highway Administration to staff for review on some crash analysis when those have been implemented to cause vehicles to slow down before that curve and the intersection. I don't know what conversations staff has had since the time this was proposed, but we have mentioned a three-way stop may be necessary at that intersection, allowing traffic from Old Sudlow to have the right-of-way so that it does not back up into the state route. This would cause buses to have to wait for that traffic to make its way through if they were turning left. But that is also an option to consider. And then the last waiver we requested was for road grade. As you all know, we're dealing with some pretty severe terrain out here. We're not asking for a lot. We're asking for within 1%, which is only a foot over 100 feet of vertical change. So in these two exhibits here show the portion of road that is exceeding that grade in the ordinance. You can split them. So that portion and then that portion along that curve there. And that is a rundown of the waivers we're requesting. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Any questions from the commissioner?
I got just a couple real quick. I like the road curvature. I think it's a natural slowing people down through a neighborhood street. I think that'll be nice. With the townhome pods, are those being mass graded?
Yes.
Yes, and then so we're still having topography issues even though they're being mass graded on making connectivity?
The townhomes have been positioned in the gentler terrain here. We do have some severe topographic change. Wait for a slide to pull up.
Keep going this direction.
You can just pull up an overall plan, so I can.
That's what I was trying to get to. There's so much here.
That was,
That works. One more. Sorry, one more back. Go back. One more. Oh, there you go. One more. So what is shown as tracks 3 and 4A there, just for example. There's no connectivity between those pods. There's about 50 feet of grade change between the back of the lots on track 3 and the back of the lots on track 4.
I'm
Just
good with
right
that
there.
one.
Yeah.
What about the track 4A? Seems like that could be split down the middle.
There is a
Yeah.
potential to do that. I will say there is. What is happening between those lots, or between the back of those homes, is a large amenities, not a large amenity, but an amenity site, a courtyard, for people in the community to use. That is not a good example to say we can't split it, but that space is being utilized for the people living there.
And I had one more on Cowboy Camp Road. Did you look at connecting to Everest maybe to avoid that? If you go back to that exhibit that showed those loops, is that it didn't look like an existing topography issue. I'm not trying to be a designer, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious if y'all looked at a concept there and just didn't yield the units, or if it was.
We have looked at that. There's a few items there. There is a few reasons that connection is not made. One being the wetlands. There's a finger of the wetlands that creeps up toward Everest Drive, which is why there's no lots in that one area there. And those wetlands are very low lying. It's hard to tell from a 10-foot map as you're looking at. But making that connection would be very tight there. And also, that Cowboy, given the size of the property and the nature of the development, you're looking at a long list of product types and homes that the home builder would like to construct on these lots. That Cowboy Camp Circle is their largest lot, their larger product, and it is desirable for the home builder to separate that from some of the smaller lots. So that is another reason we have separated that out. But I have looked at making that connection. It was there at one point in planning, but once we got into engineering, it was removed.
Mr. Paradise, can you go back to the map where it shows the roads that were?
This one?
It had that, like, the highlight red, blue, green of the roads we were.
This one?
And so just for clarity, the green and the red, you're saying both of those roads will eventually have their own exit points?
For the most part, the road, there you go. So that red road on the previous slide ties to the red road on this slide, which will eventually make its way back to Buchanan Parkway. And Buchanan Parkway is not intended to be a road that has a substantial amount of connections to it. We want to limit access to an extent on that road because there is a large commercial aspect of this property in this project. So having some kind of limited access to that road is desired for the sake of people turning onto it frequently and with a lot of anticipated future traffic. 4 connections to this number of lots in the future is planned to the main roads, which is pretty typical when you're looking at smaller size subdivision. This is, if you will, a subdivision within a subdivision, so. So that's where we're at here. We've got 4 connections overall.
Quick question on, are you concerned at all, like looking at the topo map, you know, I know there's significant potential drop off on the road we're looking at there where we're gonna put the curves in, with potentially having kids walking from school into the neighborhood and things like that, is there any thought of, in my mind, I envision people swerving around to miss kids or something, guardrails or anything in addition to putting a slower speed limit and signage out there? Because if we've got curvy and kids.
I'm not sure if this road is really necessary for, if a guardrail is really necessary for this road. The pedestrian walkways are offset from the curb a pretty good distance, 6 feet, I believe. There is, just to give you all some additional background, on that collector and the arterial road, there is an 8-foot asphalt multi-use path and a 5-foot sidewalk on the side of the road, with trees buffering between the walkway.
You have the 8-foot multi-use path on one side and the 5-foot sidewalk on the other side.
That's correct.
I had a question about the traffic light, and I'm not sure which one of you guys would be able to answer it, but you said that they were proposing that they put in that traffic light at the entrance to the school after 400 units are like available, or but would it be before, like as you start to develop it? Because traffic is already pretty heavy right there, especially when school's, you know, coming in and going out. So I didn't know if that was something that maybe could just be gone ahead and put in place before these units are actually sold.
So, based on the study, we ran a signal warrant analysis which determines when a signal is needed for the case of 100 lots coming online at a time. Once we got to 500, the signal was warranted. And that is with the school's growth anticipated. The way we're handling that is by holding platting of certain sections that exceed that amount of lots. That's not to say that all the lots that are platted before that will be developed and houses on the ground, but to exceed that number, the signal must be installed and in place.
And if I may, we conferred with our engineering staff and got the same numbers. And what we did was, there's a book or series of books that the International Transportation Engineers, anyway, traffic engineers put out with different uses, different trips. And basically, you look at the different uses here and assign those numbers of trips to it that's in that book. And we did that, and we came up with the same numbers that they came up with. And that is why we, you know, recommend that as well.
And just to add to that, in the traffic impact study, the traffic engineer recommends obtaining additional counts at the time of the signal, that the signal is needed, to analyze the real-time data of that, because there's a lot of projections involved with the study. That is up to the developer. It could push out the need for a signal, but the developer may just choose to go ahead and put it in. So that is also in play in terms of the study.
And I also have to remind the commission is that the developer may want to put the light there. The city in places may want to put a light, but until DOT says you may put the light there, because it's their road.
along that same vein, one of the other items on the agenda today is very close to this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When we're studying traffic patterns and accounting for growth and things of that nature, does it account for adding another subdivision down the road?
The current traffic counts for this project, I'm sorry about stepping in here. The current traffic counts for this project does not include a maybe project over here. Now, when this project over here, and I believe Mr. Fine is working on that one too, when this development comes, they will have to look at the traffic generated from this one. So it goes by not only what is on the table at the time, but they have to meet with me and the Director of Engineering, Public Works, so that we can get all the proposed developments in their study as well.
So other projects in here could potentially need to redo their traffic studies if this was approved.
No, ma'am. Nothing. No other project should have to redo their traffic study. But the project you're talking about will have to include traffic from this project and any other ones that have been coming on board here in the since 2022 would have had to include traffic projections of this in their study.
I see.
One more question on that to follow up to the traffic study. Are we, and I did read through it, are we considering the future school and future commercial development in that, or is it just strictly the residential for now?
There's two traffic studies, and I don't mean to be stealing your thunder here, but correct me if I'm wrong on this, Bert. There's two traffic studies in play. What we're looking at here is this residential portion, what you have in front of you today. There's also the global, and they are working with DOT, SCDOT on that global that would include everything. But it's hard to do right now because, as I was telling you about the traffic engineering book, well, a restaurant has this traffic generation. Home Depot has this traffic generation. So until you have a good idea of what's going in that commercial, it's hard to get a legitimate number. But yes, they are working at that, and the schools, they will be part of that when they come online too.
And to add to that, the master analysis was done for the amendment of the PD. When we came back and revised that, that was a requirement, and we had that done. It's also used so the DOT gets a big picture view of what is going to happen in the foreseeable future. It is not necessarily intended to let us know what is needed now, but it gives us an idea on what is coming. The DOT even made a comment that the scope of that study would be unlimited if we figured everything out now. So the reason that we did a second study was to analyze what we're doing now and what's required, and we plan to continue that throughout the course of this project with these big sections of development. We will analyze the traffic at each step along the way.
Just out of curiosity, has the developer mentioned like what price points these may be? Like for the townhomes, are they are going to be sold, or are they going to be rentals? Do they have a rough idea even?
I believe
Price
they
point?
will all be sold. As I mentioned, there is the intent with this large section here is one, to meet the home builders numbers for lots produced per year. The The other is to get a majority of their product lines on the market at once. So there's a large range of price points associated with these lots.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Fine? This time?
Not currently. That is a future amenity site, large amenity site. Don't want to talk too much without the developer's input on it, but it's going to be a very attractive and pretty high dollar amenity for the community as a whole.
This one?
Yes. You're referring to making a connection from the Green Road Backpacking Bend to Everest? Yes, that Everest Drive, that red portion, was the only location in this portion of the property where we could traverse from the low end of the site to the high end of the site. And the same with the future plans for Backpacking Bend, as it connects back to Buchanan Parkway. That road is going to be pretty long, but there's no way to have a lot fronting road without going and making that connection where we're showing it. A lot of that side of the development has already been preliminarily engineered. A lot of rough grading has been done, and we're confident that that layout will work. But Tommy, do you mind flipping back to the subdivision plan? I just want to outline the future amenity site as it's subdivided. There you go. So, as you see, Apex Trail backs up that whole area. That is, not all of it's usable, but walking trails and the usable portion will be pretty dense. Pickleball, tennis courts, large swimming pool, maybe two. And that 5B. Yes, it will. A lot of pedestrian access.
Thank you, Mr. Fine. If you want to have a seat, we'll open the floor for public comments. If anybody's interested in speaking, please stand up and approach the podium. Count to 5. All right. Seeing no interested public comments this evening, we'll come back for final comments from the commissioners. Final questions. Hearing no additional comments at this time, we'll open it for a motion to include the requested waivers, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I am not great at the verbiage, but I'll make a motion to approve the waivers for application PP 23-004. Is that enough? Do I need to?
Are you also approving the preliminary plat, and are there any conditions?
As far as I know, everything that we went through today, I didn't have any issues with. I guess the only one condition that I remember talking about was the possibility of a traffic light when that's needed.
Could I read that back to you, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
please. I was looking for this part and couldn't find it, but he found it.
I got you. A full movement traffic signal should be designed and installed upon completion of Section 1 at Belvedere Clearwater Road and Buchanan Parkway, with a condition of approval that this be required as a condition of the final plat approval of Phase 4B, 5A, and 5B of Section 1A. And then construct a 250-foot southbound right turn lane with taper at Belvedere Clearwater and Old Sudlow Lake Road would be installed along with Track 2. And create a southbound left turn lane into Himalaya Crossing Site access from Old Sudlow Lake Road with Phase 1B. And construct a northbound right turn lane at Buchanan Parkway at the school campus. And that should be done as a condition of approval. Do you want to, are you making a motion to approve the waivers and the preliminary plat with these 4 conditions of approval?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Elliott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Slade. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is that one opposed? Excuse me, Ms. Waddell. Just for the record, I need to make, is that a vote for or against? Okay, so it's unanimous?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fine, for your time and details, getting us through all the exceptions and waiver requested there. Moving on to the number 6 item on our agenda, application SP 23-002 for the Oak Haven Apartments, major site plan, request by Oak Haven Apartments LLC for approval of a 306-unit apartment complex on approximately 15.8 acres located at 980 Edgefield Road, tax parcel number 011-06-01-001 for tonight for consideration of the major site plan and application by the Planning Commission. Tommy, will you
Yes, sir.
bring us up to speed on this one, please?
You may remember this one. This is subject parcel, I refer to it as behind QT. It is proposed on 15.8 acres of this, where it says subject parcel, that would be subdivided into 2 parcels, each with 15 acres and change. So the apartment complex would have 306 units, 180 would be a 1-bedroom or studio, 125 would be 2-bedroom. Access would be provided by Modern Market Drive, which has a traffic signal at Highway 25. There'd also be access from what is Frontage Road right now. They would like to name the road Mighty Oak Trail. There's too many frontage roads in Aiken County. So approval of the site plan would approve the road names of Mighty Oak Trail to replace the name of Frontage Road. Modern Market Drive was previously approved. Road number 3 was previously Zippy Run, is proposed to be named Sapling Row. Road 4 was previously Bravo Pass, proposed to be Rustling Branch. And road number 5, previously home in Oak Haven Drive, is proposed to be Canopy Drive for the internal drives. The road names have been reserved by Aiken County addressing from 1 year. The approval includes certification of the use of the road names Mighty Oak Trail, Sapling Row, Road, Rustling Branch and Canopy Drive. There was a traffic improvements recommended by the TIA analysis and approved by DOT, will be installed on a schedule acceptable to DOT, and any outstanding comments will be addressed to the satisfaction of city staff. And the reason with the TIA, right now we're kicking that back to DOT, is when you look at the TIA, it also included a proposed shopping center on the 15 acres to the front. So that's what's going to be generating the majority of the traffic. So when that application comes before you, the recommendation on traffic improvements may be different. And also, this site is already being served by a traffic signal at Highway 25.
Thank you, Mr. Paradise. Any questions of Mr. Paradise from the commissioners?
You have an overall site plan that shows the stats?
Is that it?
My only concern is Mighty Oak Trail, the renamed frontage road, is when you come right off the interstate. It's a quick right there. And if people are looking left to go right, when we increase that traffic count. And I know in the study it was a little ambiguous as to what those numbers would look like. I didn't know if down the road we could make a no right turn coming off the interstate or not.
I think that's in the traffic study as a recommendation. And I would think that that's something we would look at harder with the commercial. But I mean, you could certainly put that restriction in there if the planning commission wanted to, and DOT would allow it.
Yeah, 'cause I just think that traffic count is just gonna get higher and higher, and just you have a little dangerous area there.
Any other questions of Mr. Paradise before we ask the applicant to step up? Is the applicant here to speak on this project tonight? You again.
Do I need to state my name for the record?
Sure.
Bert Fine, Cranston Engineering, representing ATC Development, 1432 Heath Street, Augusta, Georgia. To address some of the traffic concerns, I know the study projected the need for some improvements. The applicant is also the owner of the front piece of the property that's to be developed as a commercial establishment. With that, the developer is also permitted and has begun construction on the full road improvements out front, so that work is underway. Adjustments to the signal, additional turn lanes into and out of the development as a whole. So that may ease some minds when it comes to traffic being done at a later date. A lot of that work is already underway. I don't know if you all have any other questions for me on this one. We've got minimal comments outstanding with the planning department and engineering department. A lot of it's out of our court. We've submitted to DOT for an encroachment permit off frontage road, and that has been reviewed and sent back to us, and we're near resubmittal on that. And we're still awaiting sewer permit approval from the PSA, which could take some time given their current situation. But other than that, the plan is near complete.
I'm back with my curiosity questions, and you may not be able to answer, but they're 1 and 2 bedroom units. So are they going to be like an affordable price point? Are they going to be like a luxury price point? Like, are you aware about where we'll land with that?
I do know they will be rentals. The developer is here if he'd like to speak to that. They will be rental properties, affordable for a various range of residents. There is an amenity site in the center which looks small, but it is pretty dense and offers a lot to the residents there. Fitness center, leasing office, clubhouse, cabana, some walking trails through the courtyard, a pool, etc.
Any other questions of Mr. Fine at this time? Have a seat. We'll open it up for public comment on the proposed Oak Haven Apartments. Anybody from the public wish to speak, please address the podium. All right, seeing none of that. Final questions from the commission for Mr. Paradise or Mr. Fine again?
Just a minimal, or a question of note, mainly for Tommy. Noticing that this is in the Toll Basin, which is poor water quality, and they talk about it having to implement solutions down the road as that drainage basin's already overflowing. This development's already going through with it, but would that be something that the future development, it's called a tax, but the future development
Impact fee?
impact fee we're looking at, is that, this is something that would address?
That is something, that may be something that an impact fee could help fund, is improve stormwater that is, that need comes from the new construction.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I would approve the application, make the site plan, okay, the apartment LLC.
Do you, in that motion, is the road name approval and the staff recommendations also in there?
I have a motion by Mr. Harbison. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. All in favor, say aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
if I may,
sir.
before we get any further and I forget it, whenever I was talking with Mr. Elliott earlier, helping craft the motion for Alidade,
We did not mention this.
we did not include the street names. Could we go back and address that issue, whether y'all approved the street names or not?
Should we just reapprove the
You-
addition of the street names not previously noted in the approval of PP 23-004 to include the street names as noted in the document?
I think that would cover it.
Again, so just, we're amending our vote to include that. All in favor of adding that, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved the street names. Thank you, Mr. Paradise, for cleaning that up.
No, sir, thank you for correcting my mistake.
All right, that brings us to the third item on the agenda this evening, application CON PL 24-001 on the Kellogg track. This is a sketch plan A, request by D.R. Horton for a concept plan review of a proposed planned development located off Edgefield Road and Belvedere Clearwater Road, tax parcel numbers 11-19-01-001 and 002, 012-08-01-001. All right, Director Paradise, I want to give us the quick summary of this project, please.
Yes, sir. This is a site about 466.42 acres. It's a sketch plan review. The proposed zoning is planned development, which would have 882 single-family detached lots, 44 townhomes or single-family attached, an amenity area. It would also include apartments and a commercial area. Currently, the property is partially in the city and the remainder would need to be annexed. Before proceeding any further, the applicants wanted to discuss the project with the Planning Commission and get any of your comments or suggestions. This is basically a non-binding discussion of the proposal. Whatever you say here, they're not required to do if it's not in the code. And likewise, if they do what you want, that doesn't bind them to your approval. This is a good, hopefully, back and forth exchange of ideas for the development before they go any further.
Thank you for that clarification. Any questions of Mr. Paradise before we ask the applicant to come up?
I would say it's a fine night.
Hmm? Is a representative of the applicant here, somebody other than Mr. Fine, here to speak on behalf of a project tonight?
I thought he was coming back up.
He might.
Your name and address, please.
Lauren Alexander. I'm with Cranston Engineering, 452 Ellis Street, Augusta, Georgia. So as Mr. Paradise said, we're just here to share this sketch plan with you and just get some ideas from y'all. We just wanted to make y'all aware of the project, especially while it's still in the earlier stages. And like Mr. Paradise said, we are aiming to get this annexed into the city with a PD zoning, as it's currently part of Aiken County in the CR zoning. As some of y'all are aware, this project is directly adjacent to the new Alladade development. And so this site specifically has some of those same conditions we've seen in Alladade, including wetlands and some steep topography. But our main idea with this layout was to have two spine roads, so one that stretches east-west and one going north-south. And that north-south spine road ends where that east-west and the north-south intersect, if that makes sense, to make a T. So those spine roads are designed to only serve vehicles and have vehicular circulation through this area. There won't be any houses or anything residential directly on these roads. And we have had some conversations with the developer about having some kind of pedestrian trail or path next to those roads, similar to the Alladade development. Obviously, it's still preliminary. It's just an idea. It's not shown here. I just thought y'all might be interested in hearing that. But this concept shows a roughly 10-acre commercial area directly off of Belvedere Clearwater Road, and then an area for apartments adjacent to that. Behind that commercial area is going to be 44 townhome units, and then beyond that, the rest is just single-family lots. So it is predominantly single-family lots in terms of the residential areas that we're looking at. And some of those lots are getting up to 75 feet wide. You can see those color differentiations on there. That's because that topography is so steep. So we have some larger lots. We are showing an amenity area towards the center of the development. I'm not quite sure as of now what all that will entail. Most likely a pool and a clubhouse, but it's still kind of early to know exactly what that'll be. And then we have multiple green spaces spread throughout, so you'll see those in green on that plan. One other thing we've been considering is having a connection to the Palmetto Parkway Trail that goes along 520. We're not exactly sure where that location will be yet, but the developer has expressed interest in pursuing that. Our wetland delineation for this project, it was still in progress when we submitted this sketch. So we've gotten that back. We got it about 2 weeks ago, so it's not reflected on this plan, but the location is pretty similar to what this plan shows. So our next version of this will have that incorporated as well as the 50-foot buffer requirement for those wetlands. One other thing I wanted to mention, we did have a preliminary review with the planning department, and they did point out that this concept, especially that north arrow where all that single family is pretty dense, it doesn't follow the 640-foot block length requirement. So that's something we're definitely going to consider also in the next version of this. But that's all I have for y'all for this stage. Like I said, we just wanted to get it in front of y'all and see if y'all had any questions, comments, or concerns.
Thank you. My first question, where's the access to Edgefield Road? Do you have some more information on where that is exactly, or what, is there an existing road there, or is it?
Yeah, the property actually goes out to that road, so there's like an access built in.
Yeah, but is there, yeah, there's not a road there currently?
No, no, no.
Okay, and what it's between, I'm just trying to figure out where that is. I should have looked ahead of time, just curious where that's entering
These houses.
Edgefield Road.
So if you look a little bit south, that is Celeste, I'm pretty sure, that comes out to Edgefield.
Okay,
And so that's where like the Kitten Caboodles is on the corner. So if you go down just a little bit, right now, I'm pretty sure it's just like trees. I don't think it's cleared at all right there on Edgefield, but I believe like that Manly Auto Center and like,
Christie's Coffee is like really close to there too, but.
I wonder why I know where this is. But yeah, so our businesses are obviously right there, so I've traveled there a while. But yeah, it's, trying to think of the exact buildings, but it's kind of between Celeste and where,
yeah,
yeah, that whole strip pretty much, on Edgefield right there is, yes, close to the recycling center.
okay.
That would be the zoning map. The subject parcels, that gray area is in the county, and the lower end is, in the green is, I think it's critical restricted, CR.
So why is it critical restricted?
Probably because of the wetlands.
Okay.
And during the PD, we're real careful about rezoning that particular district. But here, they've done the wetlands delineation.
Okay.
And so when they come back with the PD, we would ask that in the general development plan, that all of that is left natural.
Okay.
You know, you don't get into that. So then that leaves the remainder of that portion that could be developed. We have run into it one time before where a developer, and he didn't move forward with development for various reasons, but he did a rezoning where he subdivided out the critical restricted portion and rezoned the other portion of it. And this is typically basically the same thing, except it'd be through the PD General Development Plan.
So my comment is just, you mentioned the Palmetto Parkway Trail. I think it's an underused asset to North Augusta. And obviously with this much density, you're gonna have a lot of families, and I think a connection to that. You know, I can see we probably have some topo issue there, getting over there. But I think that would be a huge boon to the neighborhood and a plus to North Augusta if we could get more usage out of that. Because I don't think I've ever seen anyone on it, but we know it's there, so.
Yeah, I agree.
In addition to that comment, I know you mentioned having walking paths where those roads are just going to the separate areas for the houses. I think we would probably all strongly encourage that there be pedestrian walkways anywhere that there's
I saw the examples of the housing. I think my personal opinion is that we need more affordable housing. So, are we planning on some of these being in a lower single-family price range? Do they know yet? I mean, I guess I'm saying my advice would be, I think that you should definitely consider putting some affordable housing. We're getting a lot of new construction, and I think it's great, and I love to see all the growth, but I also feel like there's a huge need in North Augusta for houses that young couples or singles can actually afford, or a single family, single mom. So I like the little ranch. Like, I just would hope that maybe in your plans that some of those will be affordable housing, so that we're not just limiting affordable housing to apartments, and we can actually encourage some home ownership. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that. And I like D.R. Horton does provide that opportunity to a lot of families. So hopefully y'all will consider that.
And just from staff's point of view, if I may, along the spine roads, we would recommend, just like Alladay did, with the multi-use path on one side and a 5-foot sidewalk on the other. Especially, you're coming to your amenities there, and without that, you don't have a way for families.
What's the number of apartments planned? That's not included in the 866, right?
Correct. That's not in any of these numbers. I think at this point, it's more of an idea than anything. So, I don't really have a direct answer for that, but
If I could throw my 2 cents, I'd say let's look at something else. With the high density going in Adelaide, and then this potentially being another extremely high density area. A lot going on in that one area at one time. So I would encourage to look at a less dense development right there.
Okay.
I know that sometimes doesn't work with the developers, and then
yeah.
them making that work, but that would be my 2 cents. Looking at those lots, I would say that if this was, to the left was included in North Augusta currently, that'd probably be like a R10, which is what, 10 units per acre, Tommy?
Minimum 10,000 square foot lot.
10,000 square feet, so.
Yeah.
I don't know how that maths, but
Yeah.
this looks a lot more dense than the surrounding area as well. So those would be my 2 cents. And then I'll give Tanya another shout out, Tanya Strickland and her basins. That this is the only remaining undeveloped basin in the city of North Augusta. So, we've got our restrictions on the wetlands, and you got to be 50 feet away. But I would encourage you to do more and as much as you can to protect that, because we're running out. And with Adelaide going there and this going in, it's
Well, hopefully it can be
Something to
something
consider.
that's utilized. I mean, I know Alladay, they're putting trails around.
Right.
So people can utilize it and see it.
we don't want to fill our creeks up.
I have another thought at the top, like where it curves around and that really long road kind of goes to the T and then keeps going. That's a really long stretch, so I don't know if maybe you could loop it around to that, like make a second traffic circle and then kind of have it pick up there instead of like the T, just to make that really long road. Just a suggestion, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
If I may, the blue. Here you go. Right in this area is there some topography issues,
Yeah.
or I was just wondering why that is not being developed and there's no access to it.
It's the topography. That's what it comes down to. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I told you it's gonna be a fine night.
I know.
And just going back to our earlier conversation, Mr. Paradise, this project would have to consider Adelaide in any traffic studies that they did, regardless of where they were in their development.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom, it looks like there's like, where the wetlands come out behind those blue, like there's a little bit of a low point in there. Looking at the map.
Ms. Alexander, if you want to have a seat, I'll ask for public comment real quickly. And if anybody would like to speak to this, please approach the podium. Seeing nobody that hasn't already presented this evening, we'll close the public comment and open it for final conversation, final feedback from the commissioners. Any questions? Hearing no additional comments, we will come to the fun part of the evening where somebody has to make a motion.
No, sir, no.
Oh, no,
motion
sorry, we don't have to
required for
approve this, that's right. Never mind. We're off the
just
hook for
move
that.
on.
We-
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Elliott, you're off the hook. All right, so, hold on, lost my agenda. Quick business meeting, and this is item number 8 on our agenda. We threw it up for discussion in a prior meeting about potentially moving the planning commission meetings from the 7 p.m. start time to an earlier 6 p.m. start time. And then would, if there were, I guess as part of that, a study session would do those afterwards, after the meetings, in order to better use of our time on most nights and when there are extended speakers to maximize our ability to get folks in and out before too late in the evening. So again, we'll open it up if there's anybody here that has a work issue that we need to know about that could not make a 6 o'clock start time. And again, it's my understanding, Mr. Paradise, that this change would only require a notice in the next opportunity to post that, and we could make this effective in 2 months, in March? Okay.
What you need, and I hate
How do we do this?
I hate to do this to you, Mr. Chairman, but you need a motion, and you need a second,
Knew we weren't getting out.
and you need to vote on it.
All right.
All right, I have a question with the study sessions. So the study sessions would be after the meeting?
If there's a study session, yes, sir.
Because usually that seems like we've gone over in the study session what we're about to discuss in the meeting, and that would no longer be effective.
That would be true.
So why would we have a study session after the meeting?
Well,
I just don't
Say-
understand why that would be helpful.
well, as an example, the comprehensive plan,
Right.
we
right,
met
yes.
with you. During the development code, we met in work session. If there's another project that y'all are working on, there would be a work session.
Okay.
And of course, the work session, and I'll just throw that it's out there, that, does not mean that you have to meet on a work session on the same night as the meeting.
Okay.
And it's not set in stone that we'd have to have our work session after the meeting. If there was something pertinent to that meeting, we could start it at 5:30 that day. That's not something we have to set.
That's true.
Okay.
If we wanted to
I'm
talk
good
for
with
30
that.
minutes ahead of time and then.
I just know there have been some times where we had a pretty major discussion of some things going on that we wanted to meet and have a little more free discussion of it so we all have a better understanding before we get into the official meeting.
In
But yeah, if
fact-
we can do
yes,
it,
sir.
as long as we can do that before, I'm good with that.
And did anybody talk to Dr. Crawford? Does she have an opinion one way or the other?
Yeah, I spoke to her, and she's okay with that.
I make a motion to move the meetings to 6 o'clock on Thursdays.
I have a motion by Mr. Harbison and a second by.
Excuse me.
Not on,
6 o'clock on Thursday?
Today's Thursday, right? Wednesdays.
That-
Now we're stuck to it.
Excuse me, you're moving the meetings to the same
6 o'clock,
date,
same
time,
date,
and
same
place,
time.
except it's 6 o'clock instead of 7, right?
Correct.
second.
I wish it was Thursday.
A second by Mr. Elliott. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Mr. Paradise has the January Planning Commission report, Planning Department report. Excuse me.
I wished I'd put something together for this. I was so busy with everything else. But the planning department, I will tell you, is we're wide open. We received modification to the PD for Hammond's Ferry today for some development in Riverside Village to move forward. We have a rezoning request for next month for a development or possible development that will be coming y'all's way. We continue to get applications in and see development, talk with developments. And we are, as I told Mr. Clifford the other day, had the planning, had the administration and council not had the foresight to expand our bandwidth in the planning department with additional employees, we would be hurting right now. And I say that as a thank you to them for giving us the extra help. So I don't have any specifics, but know that there's a lot going on here. I wished I'd made a list, but I didn't.
We appreciate you and all that your department does. So thank you very much for your time and
Updates on the Georgia Avenue traffic calming? I know y'all met today and talked about it.
We did, and the consultant presented, and I will push his slideshow out to y'all if you would like it. One of the things that they are looking at is funding. How do we fund those improvements? It's a little over $2 million for everything. And also, I think council is gonna see if we can take a deeper dive into the Jackson, Carolina, Georgia Avenue intersection and ask DOT if we could modify the grant so that we can get a little bit more money to do a deeper dive in that intersection to try to slow things down. That is, you know, when you're on the phone with the lady supervisor of the planning department, DOT, and she says, "Oh yeah, I know that intersection. It's all messed up." You know that's not a good sign. Yeah. Depending on how you're looking at it. Any other questions or anything?
again, thank you again for what you do and
Thank y'all.
helping put all this together for us. Appreciate your time and energy in this. I will adjourn the February 21st meeting of the